Welcome to Caching in the Northwest. You know, this is the podcast from the birthplace of geocaching right here in the great Pacific Northwest. Now, it's Thursday at 9 p.m. Pacific. I'm Chris of the Northwest, and we're going to talk about geocachers and geocaches from here and all around the globe. So while you're wondering why anyone would make ranch-flavored ice cream, we'll be caching in the Northwest.
I like ranch. I like ice cream. Don't want to try that. No, thank you. Tonight, we're not talking about that, thankfully. We're talking about mega and giga events with Emily from Geocaching HQ. Welcome. We're so glad you're here.
Thanks. I'm really excited to be here.
Live audience, we know you're here too, and we're glad you're here. Jump in that chat like you're already doing. I see it scrolling by already. Looking forward to hearing all of your thoughts with us. But first, of course, it's time to bring in our mega marsupial. Some say he was born with tattoos. And others say his podcasts are like daylight saving. You feel like you just lost an hour. All we know is he's called Land Monkey.
Wow, that was so kind of you. Thank you.
I heard a good analogy the other day. They said, don't think of it as losing an hour of sleep. Think of it as losing an hour of winter.
Ah.
Oh, okay.
Think of it as losing an hour of your life you'll never get back.
Yeah.
There you go.
Now, how does that make you feel?
Governmental control over your life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. Good to be here. Emily, nice to meet you.
Yes.
Awesome. And hey, before we jump into everything else, we want to throw out our usual quick reminder that we appreciate the support of our patrons who help to keep this podcast coming each and every week. And I just want to point out that after getting harassed unendingly in the last podcast, I rushed right immediately before this podcast started to make sure I updated my backgrounds to be sponsor specific. So there you go. All right. Hey, we do appreciate Landsharks, one of our corporate Denali sponsors. Check them out online, landsharkz.ca. They have great products available online. And hey, if you're planning on heading to a mega or a giga, you're probably going to need some geocaching gear. So head on over to Landsharks, get your trackables and whatever else you feel you need. And I'm sure Emily will tell us all the things that you should probably bring with you. We'll get to that. But before we do, let's visit our other Denali level corporate sponsor. That's Gold Country Geotourism up in beautiful Gold Country, British Columbia, with the 2 geotours in that region. That's right. Two geotours in one. And if you want to find out more, well, download the app. Check out all the deets about places to sleep, places to eat, places to cache, places to buy stuff, places to rent, whatever it is you need to rent. All of that is in the app and online at exploregoldcountry.com. And you know what? There's even another level of support that we have on this podcast each and every week. It is amazing, and it is our patrons. And we love you, patrons. You guys are awesome. And we're going to read all your names at the end of the podcast because we just enjoy doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to have your name read at the end of the podcast and many, many other perks throughout the year, well, head on over and click that Patreon link on the cachingnw.com, a website.
Thank you so much. Now, tonight, I think it's already been said, we're going to talk about megas and gigas. If you want to get in on the chat, and trust me, you do. I know you do. Use the hashtag mega. Type that into the chat window there, and we will talk about your questions on tonight's show. Of course, you can use our many other hashtags to talk about so many different topics that we may not get to at all, including Patas, that's for the after show, hashtag podcast baking, and let us know what you're cooking, and of course, hashtag podcast drinking, and tell us what you're sipping on tonight.
All right. Well, we don't have any news per se, but we do have a YouTube comment.
Oh, nice.
What that means is it's not a comment from YouTube, like Google didn't leave us a comment. Thanks
But
a lot.
they could have.
Yeah, I know. It's not like we don't do a lot for you. But anyways.
Yet.
Yes, that's right. The kind of comments I usually get from Google aren't the kind that I probably want to
Yeah.
brag about. But
We
anyways,
have blocked your audio.
copyright infringement.
Yeah.
No, but it's my content. Anyways, anyhow, on the YouTube version of this podcast, and if you only ever listen to the audio version, hey, did you know that you can actually watch us and punish yourself visually?
As I said, we're sorry in advance.
Yeah. All right.
We all have faces for radio.
we do. We do.
Yes.
That's why we brought Emily on.
And voices
Except
for
Emily.
books.
Right.
I'm
She
sorry.
brings balance.
Most have faces for radio, never the guest.
All right. Where was I going? I remember where I was going. One of the people who does watch this podcast on YouTube live on every Thursday is UDAC. And UDAC left a comment. I believe it would have been on our 500th episode.
Mhm.
And she says, how nice of Brian to be there in person. Like, I like how he took over the interview and asked the host questions. Yes, he did. That was an unexpected turn of events, and it was a lot of fun.
It was one of the few times I didn't know what to say.
Sure.
Yeah, it was great to have him in person.
It was.
It was. That was such a fun episode. I just released the video or the audio. I mean, I worked to clean it up. There's still some echo in it, so I apologize. It's not the normal quality you expect from our wonderful studio. You know, you've come to expect the dulcet sounds from our studio mics. And when we get out in public, that doesn't always happen. So this next one, this is an email from Merlin 1392. You have to wonder, does he know that it's maybe not 1492 that Columbus sailed the ocean blue? Or I don't know what happened 100 years before Columbus, because they don't teach us that in school.
Well, I guess you'll have to ask him next time you
I'm
see
going to
him.
have to ask him.
He gets out to a lot of mega events.
Boy, does he. He says, in spite of the audio challenges, I really enjoyed your 500th episode. Thanks for pulling it together and putting it out. Near the end, Jay asked about taking a picture. Where is it? I want to see it. I went to the website, but didn't find anything. I also went to YouTube and see if there was a video with your usual audio, but didn't find any. Can you describe your setup, went well, if anything, and what you would do differently for your next live show?
We've been talking about that.
What went well was the guest.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, he went through, just short of actual torture to get on there, listen, and answer questions. So,
Brian,
He's a
Brian,
great
thank you
sport.
so much for your patience.
Yeah.
I've been chatting with the crew here and coming up with a list of gear that we can do a mobile podcast rig. My whole idea is, we could do it in a theater, but my plan is, I want to be able to do a podcast from a beach, right? So have everything together that works together. We can set it up and podcast wherever we are without any outside input. So that's what I'm working towards. So we're going to get some of that gear and we'll do some more live events.
Cool. And hey, I want to address Merlin 1392's question about the photo. I had been holding on to the photo until I knew that the audio of the episode had been released, and so that's my excuse. And now that I've just found out from Chris that it's been released, because full disclosure, I don't actually subscribe to our podcast feed because
Land monkey.
I hear it every Thursday.
I'm in it every Thursday.
Right?
Yeah. I hear it a couple of times a week.
Hey, should we do the beach where they blew up the whale?
Blasted blubber beyond all
Beyond
believable bounds.
bounds. Yeah.
That was a Jeopardy question not too long ago.
Really? Like what beach was it? Or what community?
Was it
Yeah,
Florence,
just in-
Oregon?
Yeah.
Beautiful area.
Yeah.
Well, once the
When
seagulls
not coated
cleaned
in
up all the
whale
blubber.
blubber, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys.
Oh, so I'm going to post some pictures. I just reached out to people that I knew were at the event. Okay, I am. And said, hey, you took some pictures. Would you send them to me? So I'll put those up on the website. I'll put them up on social medias so people can see.
As
Can
I said, they just came in on my phone as we started the podcast.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Can I ask if you're going to post the pictures? And this may not be a popular request, so I'm going to let you decide. You don't need to answer
Well,
me right now.
I'll
let you.
immediately say no, and then we'll go on
Okay.
from there.
What I'm thinking is maybe post like a couple of interesting pictures on the socials, but like post everything on the Patreon site for our patrons, so the patrons get like the whole meal deal as a thank you for their support, and then everybody else can at least get a little taster there and
Exactly.
and know that they have to suffer because they don't support us.
Wow. Okay.
As soon as you mentioned podcasting from a beach, I have a Kenny Chesney song going through my head.
Just
All
finding
right.
our way seems like it all needs to fit in an ammo can.
Well,
It sounds like we've discussed that actually.
anything can fit in an ammo can if you have a big enough ammo can.
That's right.
And I've seen one in Cache Advance that would hold all of our stuff
And
and us, and probably a vehicle to carry it all in. It's a big ammo can.
Yeah. But I think you could probably like one of those. I think what is it, a 50 caliber? I can't remember the classifications on them, but you know the larger ones, not the huge tall ones like the 8 cache.
like the 8 cache, it's a 20 millimeter, I believe.
Yeah, but yeah, I think we could make that work.
Yeah.
I could probably make something work, yeah.
Cool.
All right. So another YouTube comment from Gary Lee. He says, when I look at my filtered by log types as in DNF, I have a blue smiley by those that I had gone back and avenged. However, there were quite a few that I had avenged but weren't recorded as avenged. Maybe a flaw in the system.
I wonder
Fly in the ointment.
which app is that on?
Well, that's what I wonder.
Yeah, I'm curious too.
This was in reference to last week's show, DNF Pride with Rock Chalk.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I thought that was interesting. I don't know if that's on the app, on the official geocaching website,
I didn't think
geocaching
it was.
app, or one of the others. But
Well, let's see.
Research department.
Because we're live here, I can look. I avenged a DNF on the way home from work just this evening.
and you know
And-
what? You were in my head.
And
Well,
I
okay.
was.
I had you on earbuds
Talking to him on the
talking to
phone.
me on the way.
Yeah. I have a yellow smiley in GC Droid. So there was a blue frowny there until today. So there you go. Kitty Quest says you get those blue smileys on the website.
Oh, okay.
So, okay.
Oh, is it an actual smiley
Could be.
or is it a blue frowny?
Mm.
I guess
I don't. You know
we'll have
what?
to figure it out.
Yeah, that's a whole nother episode.
I'll look it up in the after show because that was last week's episode. We're going to move on to this week's episode because we have a nice guest. But before we do, I just want to say one more little tidbit news announcement thing. A week from Saturday, that's the 25th of March, there is a cache machine happening in Yakima. So if you're anywhere near central, southern, eastern Washington here, there's an event Friday night before. Sorry, I do not have the GC code in front of me, but there's an event like there often is the night before a cache machine to meet up and probably have something to eat. I think they're usually near restaurants. And
I want to say it's at Miners.
I think it is. I think you're right.
Not the younger people,
Yeah,
the underground people.
the digging underground people. Yeah.
They're Miners, not Miners.
Get together, maybe form a carpool if you haven't already, meet up with some friends, plan your day, and then head out Saturday the 25th and do a whole gaggle
Whole
of caches. Yeah, a whole host, a gaggle, a pack of whatever. I don't know. Pick your term
What
of
is
choice.
the plural? With the proper plural noun for a collection of caches?
For a whole bunch of caches.
Emily, what do you think?
That's a great question.
This is-
What do you call it at HQ when you refer to a plural of geocache?
I don't, Sally, we haven't been creative with that yet.
Oh,
So this is maybe a good thing to put to the masses on
There you go.
social media. I will bring it up because it's deserving.
And you got a pride of lions and a flock
Yeah.
of many things,
A
and
murder of crows.
I was a murder of crows. Yeah, that's always a good one.
An ammo can of caches.
Yeah.
That needs to be a good thing. All right. So anyway, if you're planning to be or make plans to be in Yakima 25th, I think Chris and I are planning to be there. I'm not sure that the land monkeys will be able to make it down. Maybe they will. You never know. They show up in the most unlikely places.
You never know where they're going to be on.
That's right.
Keep you
That's
guys
right.
on your toes. That's our job.
Yeah. So that'll be fun.
Ooh,
And
I like this. And our chat already has it. It's a
Oh, there you go.
discovery of caches.
that's
I love
great.
that.
And Doramore and GSM times 2 both came up with a discovery
Yeah,
of caches.
that's
I like
awesome.
There you go. You heard it here first, folks, from our live audience.
All right. Well, we have a representative from HQ in the house. Emily, you can take that back to the headquarters tomorrow and tell everybody that
Okay.
it is officially a discovery of caches.
It has been decided.
It has been decided, yeah. Well, I welcomed you earlier, but we're going to get on with the episode tonight and talk to you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been caching, what got you started, how long you've been a lackey? Were you a lackey first or a cacher first? Tell us all the things we want to know.
Sure. So I found my first cache in 2014 because my dad and my brother were both geocachers. And it's just something they cached all the time. I would just do it when we were on family vacations and we were all together. So a very casual cacher. And then I went to my first mega event. It was the Going Ape in 2018. Again, I didn't know what a mega event was. My parents were visiting from out of state and they wanted to go to a mega event. So we went out to Going Ape and I got to meet Signal the Frog. I didn't even know about Signal the Frog till that day. But it was kind of funny because exactly a year to the day that I went to Going Ape 2018, I applied to work at Geocaching HQ. So that's kind of fun. And I started in October of 2019. So it's been a few years.
That's a pretty quick turnaround, though.
Yeah.
So it would have been late August that you applied then, if it was a year from the Ape event, and then in a couple of months, you got through the whole recruiting process, and Brian said approved.
So, yes, that is what happens. Yeah.
Your big stamp.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
Oh, fantastic. Now, well, one of the things I know you do at HQ is work with the Gigas and Mega crews and help them with all the behind the scenes logistics. Can you give us a brief listing, maybe just the major highlights? Because I think there's a bunch of Megas and Gigas that are already approved for 2023.
Yeah. So currently there are 50 approved megas in 2023,
Wow.
which is great. And that number is just only going to go up as the year goes on because we are constantly getting applications. And actually only 15 of those are in the United States. The rest are outside the United States. So the vast majority. There's several brand new mega events this year, which is always really exciting to see new hosts taking it on and being really passionate. And yeah, that's one of my favorite things. So I'm really happy to see we have that. But there's also several mega events that are returning for the first time in about 4, 5, 6 years for some of them. And there's several like that. So that's been cool to see. There's definitely been, a comeback this year. And we also have a lot of fun themes. People are being really creative. So there's 3 different Viking themed events. So 1 in the US and then 2 over in Europe. There's a couple events at just old historical coal mining locations that are really, really cool. There's one at an old steam power plant outside of Helsinki with a nice industrial theme. There's one in Czechia that is a whole medieval theme. So there's like medieval activities that's supposed to kind of be taking you back to the medieval ages. There's also one in London that's a Sherlock Holmes theme, which I think is just excellent.
That's
So
cool.
yeah, there's so many creative ideas out there, and it's really fun just to peruse the list and see.
It's
Well-
elementary, isn't it?
Good one. So we've got to get busy and get more megas in the U.S. We're
Yeah.
being outpaced by Europe. That's just that's not going to happen. So,
Good
gonna have
luck
to change
keeping
this.
up.
good point.
Yeah.
It's
Well, they've got some keeping up to do with wide open spaces.
There you go.
It all balances out. if just talking earlier about photos in the Patreon site, and she mentioned Viking theme events. Somewhere in my archives, I have a photo of Chris of the Northwest in a Viking helmet. I'll have to dig that up and get that into the Patreon folder. That'd be good.
I'm wondering why. Maybe
One never
maybe you
knows.
should.
It was a very young Chris of the Northwest. It was an old one. Anyway, back to megas and gigas. Now, you mentioned that they are returning, and I think a lot of that is because of COVID and pandemic and all of the other hoopla that's been going on the past few years. A lot of things changed, some for the better and some not. But do you feel like mega events are on the rise, or you feel they're on the decline? And whichever way you feel, why do you think that is?
They've definitely been increasing in popularity. So for the megas and the gigas, I mean, they're attended by hundreds or even thousands of geocachers. And it's such a good opportunity for the community to come together in one place, share stories, make friends, find new caches. So the first geocaching mega event was in Texas in 2006. And since then, it's actually the numbers that we have now have just increased significantly. So the COVID-19 pandemic definitely had a huge impact. There were barely any megas in 2020, very few in 2021. Most had to cancel or postpone because of the health and the safety concerns. So the numbers are pretty low during those 2 years, but they are still going to be popular because 2022 was our biggest year yet for megas. I think, the game grew a lot during the pandemic. We had a lot of new players. And now that we've kind of moved into a new, we've moved past that phase where there were so many restrictions, it seems that people just value it more than ever, having the opportunity to all be together. So I think those large scale events have a lot of appeal for people now, because 2023 is already on track to be bigger than 2022 and be our biggest year yet. So I think there's always going to be a place for the mega events and the giga events. And as we know, our community is very creative. So I don't think anyone's going to run out of ideas anytime soon. So it's going to be a huge part.
Yeah, for sure. And I think as GSM times 2 said, when 2022 rolled around, we were ready to get together as a geocaching community globally and locally. So yeah, definitely. I can see, unsurprisingly, why once the restrictions started to get lifted, that was game on for sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
2 weeks to flatten the curve.
Yeah. Well, 2 weeks to notice to post an event. So yeah, I guess.
There you go. Yeah. That's what it was.
All right. So very cool. Some background there and history around where we've gotten to. I have a bit of a sense of the answer to this, but only from my own experiences. And I'm actually really curious from an HQ perspective, what is involved in the process of getting an event to be classified as a mega or eventually giga, perhaps?
Yeah, so first, you have to get your organizing team together. You have to read the mega and the giga event guidelines in the Geocaching Help Center. And just decide on the basics. So you need a date, you need your book location, you need to have a general idea of your theme, what the structure is going to be, what activities you're going to offer, how are you going to keep people engaged for a minimum of 4 hours. And then because you need a completed cache page before you actually submit your application. So on that guidelines page in the Help Center is the link to the application. So we just ask several questions on there. You just fill it out. It's pretty easy. You don't need to have all of your final details ironed out. So we understand event planning, ideas change, they evolve, but you have to show that you've already dedicated a significant amount of time to the planning. You have an idea about the specifics. So one of the questions is like, what's your theme? What kinds of activities are you going to have? Like, don't just say something really general, like cultural activities or activities. We want to see more detail than that. Like, what kinds of activities? Again, we don't need the actual final plan, but what we're looking for is what can someone actually expect to experience at your event? Like, we want to have a good idea in our heads of what your event's going to look like. So the more detail someone can put on there, the better. There's never too much detail. You have plenty of room to just type. So basically, after we get those applications, we take a look at them. And, if we have any questions, we'll reach back out. So if the event has never been mega, or maybe it was mega the previous year, but the attendance numbers were pretty low, the event can be published up to a year early, but it's just going to be a regular event. And you just have to show through the bulletins that there's still there is substantial community interest in your event. People really want to attend it. And then once you get 300 bulletins, you let me know, and then we look at it from mega. Some megas, they've been mega every single year. Every single year they have great attendance. So there's a very good chance they'll just get mega. So when they publish, they already have that status. And then the other avenue is if you have a great already published event, it's at least 4 hours long, it's very well organized, it's getting a lot of community interest, you think that you could definitely get to those 300 bulletins, you can still apply for mega event status, even though it's an already published regular event. You just have to do that up to 8 weeks, or 8 weeks is the deadline. So you have to do that at least 8 weeks in advance of your event.
Wow. Okay. So based on that, if some of your activities change, or, you get more interest and you go, this could even turn into a Giga, is that conversations you have in the background? Does the event coordinator contact you, or are you proactively watching these and contacting them?
Well, as far as Giga, a lot of events already know that they kind of want to, well, not a lot, it's very rare, but the events who end up going Giga, they usually know that they're going for that at the beginning. And that's when you'll see where they say that they have like at least 100 people on their organizing team. And that's just like probably a low number. And, they have their organizing team split up into all sorts of different, individual groups and team leads. And so a lot of people start that way from the very beginning when they have that ambition, because you do have to have a location that can accommodate 5,000 people. Yeah, so exactly. Not every event can go for it, but several events, like even in their application, they'll say like, we're hoping to get Giga status, and usually those events look like they've done, a lot of their groundwork. But that's something, they need to let us know. We don't monitor their event to see like when they get the bulletins. The host has to let me know. But that's a really exciting thing. It's really exciting for me to change those icons from mega to Giga. Mm-hmm. And I usually coordinate with the host, if they want to make a big announcement around it. So
I have to say you were very, very supportive when we worked with you for Geo Woodstock. And I thank you for your patience with our questions and all the work in the background, because I think I know that those who host megas and gigas, there's a ton of work, but I think people may not realize how much work the team at HQ does in support of those events. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I was hinting at there. Wet Coaster says, can an event lose mega status? And I think you answered this, Emily, if there is poor attendance in the previous year or two.
Yeah, we kind of call it, you have to re-qualify. So if it had poor attendance and they apply again to be a mega event for their next event, they just don't get that mega upon publication. They can still be published up to a year early, but as long as they've applied through the application. But yeah, they just have to make sure to show through those will attends that they can pull in the numbers.
Well, and one more from GSM times 2 before we get to ask another question. Have you ever had to turn down an event because there are two conflicting megas?
Good question.
Unfortunately, yes, because we do have a rule. It's rule number 7 in the Mega and Giga event guidelines that events cannot be scheduled too closely in time or distance. And yes, I have had to say no to an event that applied for Mega because there was already a Mega, 2.5 hours away.
Yeah.
It's usually a concern over in Europe where everything is much more compact. I've never had it happen in the US.
I love the fact that you know off the top of your head the number of the rule. It's like,
right?
Maybe we don't have to cite this one that much, but I do happen to know exactly which number this rule is.
Rule number 7, yeah.
If you want to go look it up, yeah.
And do any of your rules involve riding lawnmowers?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because Land Monkey has a riding
Let
lawnmower.
us help you with that.
Yeah. That's a long story that we'll just continue at another time.
For the after show.
Yeah. Well, gosh, go ahead.
I was going to say, now, aside from the icon that, sets it apart as a mega or a giga, what does HQ do to set those apart from any other kind of event?
Sure. So when you get awarded mega status, you get a sponsorship package from Geocaching HQ that has exclusive perks that your event gets that a regular event does not. So one of those things is a custom souvenir. So you get to design your own souvenir for your event. We'll upload it to our souvenir tool, and then your attendees get that on their profile. You also get donations of tracking codes for your event merchandise. You get some adventure credits. You get geocaching logo banners. There's usually a fun Signal the Frog banner every year. You also might get a visit from Signal the Frog as long as he's available. He does have a very busy schedule of megas and gigas. And then also, just because these are such positive impacts on the game, you also get featured in the upcoming mega events map/list that the Geocaching HQ account owns, and we link to it in our weekly and our monthly newsletters.
Very cool. That's a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stuff for you and the team to organize for 50 plus events in a year.
Yeah.
I'm curious, and full disclosure, Emily and I talked about this before the show because this is one of my this is my tough curveball question for Emily, and she just handled it like a pro. So, but you mentioned one of the things is Adventure Lab credits, and my thought is Adventure Labs. In the last few years, credits have been given out to people. There's Adventure Labs everywhere, like you're tripping over them these days. So. Yeah. I'm curious why that would still be considered a benefit to mega or giga event holders to get Adventure Lab credits.
There's a few things with that. So as far as the adventure credits go, mega events can request up to 5. And typically adventure credits are 5 locations max, but the mega ones are 10 locations for each adventure. So you can have up to 50 locations, which is pretty cool. I think sometimes you could build a really good story if you have 10 locations versus just 5. Another thing that's cool about the mega credits is the mega hosts are allowed to do physical placements for their adventure credits, which we don't typically allow. That's very special for the mega credits. And that's just a way for our mega hosts to be, more creative. And so a lot of them will do, that's when you'll see the gadget cache adventures. I feel like those are becoming more popular with mega hosts. They can only be in place up to 3 weeks. So those have to be temporary, but I think it's fun. It's cool to see how megas experiment with their credits and the really creative things that they get to do with them. I was mentioning the Sherlock Holmes themed mega in London. They're using one of theirs to do a murder mystery that gets played out through the adventure. So you actually solve the murder on the correct, Sherlock Holmes street in London. And I think that's such a creative use, and that'll be so much fun for their attendees.
That'd be pretty cool to be, on Baker Street in London doing, that's pretty neat. That's a very, very good idea.
21B Baker Street?
Yeah.
Yes.
Light in your head and dead in your feet. Yeah. Great Baker Street stuff. Gosh, so many cool things and aspects to this. Some people think as well, I thought at one time, Mega and Gigas, they're just normal events. There's just a whole bunch of people there. That's really all it is. But you've shown us, and, Land Monkey knows firsthand how much goes into planning and executing a well-run Mega Giga event. Huge numbers there. Of all of the different things that make up that, what is your favorite aspect? It's like picking a favorite child, I know, but what's your favorite aspect of Mega or Giga caches, Giga events?
I don't think it's rule number 7.
It is not.
And no riding lawnmowers, no.
It's not rule number 7. It is, for me, it is the opportunity to get to meet so many different people in one spot. I think when we go to regular events, we just a lot of times see the exact same people over and over again, which is special in its own way. But it's so rewarding to go to a mega and meet people from outside your geographical area, maybe even other countries. In 2020, I went to the Texas Challenge Mega, and I just got to meet so many people there. And that was my first experience going to a big event like that outside of Washington State. And it was really cool because then a few years later at the 20th anniversary celebration in Geo Woodstock, I got to see so many of those same people. And it was just nice to feel like we're reconnecting and just kind of friendly faces in the crowd that I recognized. And that was really cool. And then the same thing happened because I went to Essen, Germany to go to the Project Glück auf Giga in September, so the following month. And that was my first European Mega Giga, so I was very nervous. So it was nice that I had met so many people the month before. Again, we're like friendly faces in the crowd. And it just makes you feel like everything is so connected in geocaching, and the community is like one big global community. So that's like from my player perspective. And then from my lackey perspective, as in my role of supporting the Mega and Giga events, I think my favorite aspect is I get to see behind the scenes. I get to see the background. I see all of the, all the struggles and the hard work and the time and just everything that goes on. And then getting to see the event actually happen. It is watching someone's dream come true and actually come to be. And that's so cool.
Yeah. It's just not like, I think I could do this in a couple of weeks. All we need is a spot. And what is it? UDAC says it's just a regular event with more traffic and less parking.
Yeah. To quote Top Gear,
that's
how
also
hard could
true,
it be?
But
yeah. Just like how geocaching's tougher in the woods.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. UDAC also asked an interesting question. Are lackeys automatically sent to megas, or do megas have to invite lackeys to be in a panel?
I guess that kind of depends. Typically, so we have sometimes lackeys go for business purposes, and other times we have an internal rewards program where lackeys can go to megas and gigas. But we don't just go because someone invites us. We go because we really want to go to that event for whatever reason. And, we really want to be out and about in that community. And we try and spread out lackey travel every single year. So unfortunately, we don't get to send a lackey to every single mega or giga that asks, but we do try over time to make sure that we're not just focusing lackeys in one spot.
Sure. And I would bet that some lackeys just voluntarily attend megas and gigas.
Absolutely. Yeah. We have lackeys who go on, just personal travel is, and I mean, they can go and wear their lackey shirt, or they can go as, I just like to say, private citizen.
Undercover.
Incognito.
Yeah.
Generic geocacher. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, that's a good segue into, sorry.
I was going to say GSM at ×2 asks, how many air miles does Signal have?
Uh-huh.
And then I'll add on, and can you use some of those to travel yourself? I mean, can you ride Signal's coattails since he's such a world traveler?
Yeah, if we're talking UPS air miles, those UPS cargo planes, he's probably gold tier, whatever their top UPS tier is.
That's funny.
Well, I was going to comment, sorry, Line Monkey, there, also GSM ×2, because he's super active in the chat. It's just like Thursday night, we're excited to talk about caching. We're excited to experience all this stuff. But his comment here says, for me, it's the people. At the 2022 event, I think I got 3 geocaches all day, but I talked to lots of people. And it's the same with the podcast, it's all you guys in the chat. And you hosts too, I guess.
Yeah.
Gee, thanks.
Really, I'm here to see Emily.
There you go. Wow, who wouldn't be? So on that, on the note of lackeys traveling to the events, Emily, if you could get to any mega or giga in the world, which one would it be? Now we're going to ask you to choose your favorite child.
There you go.
Yeah, here it is. Well, I think what's nice is I get to see just how passionate these mega and giga hosts are and how excited they are and their plans. And so it makes me excited. I get excited reading these applications, looking at these cache pages. And so ideally, most of them would be, my preference. But I think my next mega giga is probably going to be in Belgium, because I've always wanted to go to Belgium. I would love to see the country through caching. And they have a couple mega events this year that are kind of newer geocaching mega event hosts. And they're doing great things over there, and they're really excited, and they just really care about doing things for their community. So I'd love to go check it out.
Nice.
That's exciting. You have to go to Belgium on a Tuesday.
That's how you know you're in Belgium.
That's right. If you're old movie references there. So, gosh, mega and giga events have covered so many creative ideas, but maybe there's an idea out there that HQ would love to see happen, but nobody's thought of it yet. Nobody has put that together yet for a mega or giga. Are there ideas like that haven't taken place yet?
I would say that I don't think there's anything that HQ has in mind specifically that nobody's done yet. At the end of the day, we are a community-driven game. So we want to see the great ideas the community has, and that could look different to each community. And I think we're all just very continually impressed with the ideas and the plans that we see on these applications and from mega giga hosts. It never feels like we see the same thing every year. There's always new stuff happening. And I think that the community does a far better job than we could ever do of coming up with these great creative ideas.
The community is pretty rock star.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is. Emily, I mean, Geocaching HQ offers such support to the Mega and Giga coordinators. Do they look in to see if the city or community where the event is happening is on board in providing support? Is that one of the things you look at?
So we do ask in the application what sponsorships or what other sponsors the person has either already gotten or is planning to get. But it's not something we specifically check for unless there's something in the application that would make us concerned and want to verify that. Mm-hmm. But it's typically something we expect that the Mega Giga host has already worked out before we even get the application. And most of the apps I see, they do mention that they've already had those conversations. And it seems to me that it's usually something very exciting for the community or municipality or venue to have all these people, new people coming to visit and explore. So Megas pretty much always work very, very closely with their community.
True. Yeah, I think that's definitely something I've seen. And I haven't been to a ton of megas, but ones I have been to, definitely I see a real interaction with the community. And I can say from my own experience that continues long after the event. There's an economic impact to the community that continues, which is a huge thing if you plan it right and plan it in conjunction with the tourism groups and the city. And yeah, I think it's one of those win-win-win kind of scenarios, really. The geocachers win, the organizers win, and the community wins. Like it's just a great thing. I have a question for you, and I'm going to ask you this question, but before I let you answer, I'm going to throw my own answer in, and we'll see if it influences your answer.
No leading the witness.
Not a court of law. Nobody sworn in.
Objection. Oh, wait, never mind. Sustain.
This is what they call kangaroo court, Chris, or monkey court. All right. So if somebody had an idea for an event that they felt could become a mega, after getting them some counseling, I would like to know what the first steps you would advise them to take are. Now, my answer to this would be, don't plan it during a global pandemic. But
yeah, what'd you do that for, Land Monkey?
Just wasn't. But Emily, seriously though, I am curious what your thoughts are. Like, if somebody has an idea, and you mentioned this earlier, like a group of people get together around the application process, but how would you encourage people if they think, hey, maybe I could do this? What should they do?
Well, I would say, first of all, not to be discouraged, because there isn't one right way to host a mega. So there isn't a one size format that a mega always has to look like this or have these activities or anything like that. When you look at our list of 50 megas that we have so far this year, there's a huge range of themes, activities, locations. Some megas are very high energy, lots of activities, just flurry of activities, just nonstop action. And others are very low-key, just very low-key, and trend more to maybe just like workshops and chats and just casual time together, doing the new caches or the new adventures, and more very low energy. And both those styles are really great in their own way, and they all appeal to somebody. So it's kind of like geocaching as a whole, where there's something for everyone, and you might not enjoy every single cache type, but that doesn't mean, that you don't enjoy geocaching. So if you have an idea, even if it's something that you've never seen in your area before, or not every single person you talk to thinks it's a great idea or it's amazing, that's okay. Just go ahead and pursue it and talk to people, see if, others are interested in contributing and, putting something together, and submit an application, because we would love to see it.
That's fantastic advice.
Yeah.
I want to follow that up with a comment Chris Land Sharks Chris made in the group chat there. And he said, I would advise talking to some people that have done it already. Don't jump into something you don't understand. And that was one of the things with hosting Geo Woodstock that was so amazing. Is there is, I don't know if people are aware of this, but there's a group of previous hosts of Geo Woodstock that some people lovingly refer to as the elders of Geo Woodstock. But they are the committee that reviews applications for the next Geo Woodstock. Absolutely. So that's a process you go through, kind of almost like a bid process. But they are also there through the whole length of from your application through to event day and cleanup, to help coach and provide advice and everything. So from a Geo Woodstock perspective, I saw that happen, and I think Chris definitely has some really good advice. What do you have any thoughts on that, Emily?
Yeah, I think that's excellent advice. And I have heard even very recently of brand new mega hosts who were reaching out to other experienced mega hosts or people who had done it before to get advice. And I was so happy to hear that. I was so proud because, that shows me that they are really committed to doing something really great for the community. And, they're serious about doing the best they can. And a lot of mega hosts, this is their dream to put on an event like this. It's quite literally, their dream. And so just having people in the community who are willing to give advice, like willing to take their time to do that is huge. It shows how great our community is. And yeah, I would recommend that to anyone.
Well, and that goes throughout geocaching, including mega event planners, including, the podcast here. It's a community. It's about the people. And that is so awesome that, reach out. If you're involved in planning one already, if you're thinking about planning one, reach out to people who have been there. Everybody is super happy to help because more megas and more gigas, just more fun, right?
Yeah. And honestly, I think it's important to not get discouraged. It's a daunting task.
Yeah.
It's especially daunting if you're doing something maybe that no one's ever done before, but it's worth it. And yeah, it's just so fun after an event's over, and especially if it was a first time one, and reading the logs and just knowing that the hosts are going to read that and are going to feel so fulfilled.
Now you've casually thrown out the number 50 a couple of times tonight, that there are 50 megas, gigas coming up in 2023, 2024. Odds are that number is just going to grow. They do take a little more planning. Well, okay, a lot more planning than a typical event. But we're only a quarter of the way into 2023. It's probably going to wind up being even more than 50 by the time all is said and done. If I said, oh gosh, I love these, I want to go attend as many as possible, I want to know what megas and gigas are coming up, how can I look that up? Is there a special search tool just to find megas and gigas?
Yeah, so you can always filter for the megas and gigas.
Fair enough.
But then I also keep a list under the Geocaching HQ accounts of all upcoming megas and gigas. And that's a great way to just see all of them and map them. And there's actually there's more than 50 on there right now because we already have some confirmed for 2024. So,
okay.
so there's even more than 50 on there right now. But yeah, if you can go through, Geocaching HQ account to see that list, or when you get the newsletter, it's always linked at the bottom. And then, of course, we give them their own icons, so it's also easy to distinguish them on the map.
That's great. If there were 50 in a calendar year, that's more than 4 per month. So that's a lot.
Yeah, I think I was mentioning to y'all earlier that there's some weekends in the summer where we have 4 or 5 megas on one day on a global, scale. So yeah,
that's even more travel than Land Monkey can pull off.
Right? Yeah. That's a lot of travel.
It's going to require some working with the international dateline to get to
teleportation, things like that.
Yeah. Now that's the solution right there.
That's so much easier than this international dateline. What was I thinking? Emily, an hour has already slipped by. I don't know
Wow.
how that happened, but
I know.
thank you for being with us. Now, if our listeners wanted to reach out and connect with you, because, maybe they're wanting to host their own Giga event. I mean, they're going right to the top, right? They're going to go for
Right.
Giga.
Yeah.
What's the best way to reach you?
Well, if you want to do a Mega or Giga, submit an application because I'll be the one who looks at it.
Mhm.
I'll be the one in touch with you. but yeah, so I mean, if you want to do that, also, if you have questions too about hosting a Mega Giga, just in general, you can use our Help Center form. Generic Help Center form. Our community engagement team will probably get it, and then they can send it to me so I can respond to any questions. And then on geocaching, I'm adventuring. You can find me on geocaching.com, the geocaching app. So yeah, I'm around and I'm ready for questions. So
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. Please stay around for the after show, and we'll throw out some questions, and maybe we'll pick on Land Monkey some more. But listeners, thank you for tuning in. We hoped you enjoyed this episode of Caching in the Northwest.
Absolutely. And I want to take a moment to thank Land Sharks and Gold Country Geotourism, our two corporate Denali level sponsors. Land Sharks with a Z.ca is the outdoor adventure and geocaching store. Check them out online. And remember, they are shipping those online orders daily. And for absolutely amazing geocaching adventures, check out exploregoldcountry.com for the 2 geotours and the app. All right, folks. We want to thank all of our faithful Denali level supporters. That's Land Sharks, Gold Country Geotourism, Team Squirrel, Groovy Owl, and Cachly, the geocaching app. Mental note, got to contact Nick, get him on the show.
Yeah.
All right. Folks, if you want to know more about supporting this podcast, well, each and every one of you can do it, and many of you already do. Thank you to all of our patrons. If you want to join the club of cool kids, well, you can head on over and click that Patreon link on the cachingnw.com website.
Like Skyhawker did.
And J Carr.
And in the WSGA 48s, it's CRS 98.
And Ari, 54321.
MC3 Cats.
Al Robrick.
B Pendragon.
Geocaches.
Boomer 365.
Honors.
Acrodoc.
Subway Mark. Hey, hold on a second. Before we move on, I just got to say, I was earlier, just before the podcast, looking at a photo I took of a Subway Mark geocache when I was in Oregon. So there you go.
Well done.
Very nice. I bet it was near a railroad.
It was.
Yeah. Wow. Just took a wild guess.
You're seismic.
I know. Hey, let's not forget about Limax.
Or Antaeus.
Or GeoNav Pro. Congrats.
M-Nerf.
Kev MacD.
Great caches. Team Noltex.
Great person. Terrible lunch. Gas station tuna.
Trexzer.
Korsgat.
You talks to rocks.
Active in the chat tonight and almost always GSM times 2.
Living in one of my favorite places to visit and go caching, Whidbey Island Gal.
Logwork.
Seebeck Tribe.
Fairwood West.
Peach, who's really in Washington.
We read a comment on YouTube from UDAC.
I see what you did there. That was clever. Another great cacher, Genies.
Just finding our way.
Ring the bell for Sprouter.
Active in the chat tonight, and well, sounds like he's planning his own megas. It's Wino Seattle.
Tick Magnet.
Green Words.
Camp Clan.
Flagman.
Kettle Barb.
If you're a spilly drinker, you're going to have a wet coaster.
RAR 285.
LG 9000.
Keats 94.
Kitty Quest.
Kid Vegas 19.
Sergey Hove.
Dora Moore.
And wrapping it up with our new patron, Just Carlo.
Excellent.
Thank you to all the patrons, and thank you, Emily, for joining us tonight. We're so glad you did. I know more about megas and gigas than I did before, and I'm excited about them.
I have to say, I kind of went with UDAC. It's just a large event with less parking.
For parking, yeah.
And more porta potties or something. But
like
there's
that,
a
yeah.
lot more that goes into it. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
and from myself, great to maybe. And again, I apologize if we did meet in person at Geo Woodstock and I just don't remember. So I'll apologize in advance for that. But nice to be able to see you, and thank you for all your support for our Geo Woodstock event.
Yeah, that was fun to have something so close to home too. And especially when I knew I was going to go to. That was nice.
That was pretty cool.
Nice. And folks, I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode of Caching in the Northwest. We know you have a lot of choices in podcast, and we certainly appreciate you here. Your support helps keep quality shows coming. If you like the show, click the Patreon link on the CachingNW.com website. If you didn't like the show, I don't know how that could be tonight, but let us know what you want us to talk about. In either case, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, so many more. Subscribe and give us a review. Now, if you were in a restaurant, you would tip. If you were in a live audience, you would clap. But since you're on a podcast, leave us a free, fast, fabulous, fantastic 5-star review. And you can call into 253-693-TFTC and leave us a comment, ask us a question, or meet us at a mega event any time of the day or night. And of course, you can email us at feedback@cachingnw.com. Join us every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Pacific for a live show and livelier chat. The show is produced by Chris Umpenauer, Jim Paulwitz, Jay Kennedy, and Brian Lang. It's licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Copyright 2023 by Chris Umpenauer. And folks, I ask you to stay tuned for
The After Show.
Well, that was really quiet in my ears. I hope you all heard it.
After
On the
Show.
quiet, there we go. It was on the quiet side.
Kitty West After Show.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. We have one here from Genies. This goes directly to Land Monkey.
Oh,
Are you ready to host a mega again soon?
I think I saw a too soon question in the chat. Yeah, they're Virginia. Yeah.
let's just say not this year. I would like, you know what I would like to do? I would like to attend a series of megas now, having hosted a very large event. I would like to enjoy being able to visit other people's events and see what different ideas they come up with. Just some of the ones that you were discussing earlier, the different themes, and it largely sounded like European ones, but I know one of the ones that's been on my bucket list for ages, and I just never arrange it well enough to get down there, is going caching. And there's a themed event that happens every year, the different theme every year. I would absolutely love to go there. There's so many great events that I would love an opportunity to go to. So, I did my part, myself and Chris and Helen and a huge team. It was 3 of us in the lead team there.
Yeah.
But it was a huge group that and I think you made the comment to that effect earlier. Like, we had it well divided between different managers and teams, and by the end it was pretty much clockwork. There's always stuff, but great group of people. Really enjoyed working with them. I enjoyed being able to contribute, but right now I am really looking forward to kind of experiencing what other people's ideas are and what they do.
Yeah.
Redcaster says the best part were the Nanaimo bars.
The Nanaimo bars were pretty darn good. Although, if you ask Mrs. Land Monkey, the best part were the butter tarts, and also the taste testing of the butter tarts, and then making sure that, well, we think these are the right butter tarts, but now what we need to do is freeze them overnight, thaw them out the next day, and test them again to make sure that they hold up. And so there was a lot of quality control that went into
Thorough testing. I like that.
Yeah.
Mr. Landshark says that, just so you know, we're still wrapping up.
We are, and Adventure Maze. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
You know, there are so many aspects that nobody that hasn't hosted it knows anything about that goes into Mega Giga stuff. And of all the different aspects of geocaching that I am excited about, I must confess I am not excited about hosting or coordinating a Mega or Giga event. It just seems like a whole lot of work. But if I ever decided to do one, I know that I would need to find teammates that caching handles start with LAN. Because that seems to be a thread and a common trait amongst successful coordinators.
It made things easier. Yeah. That's funny.
Now, going off topic a little bit, just Carlo, and thank you for becoming a new patron, by the way.
Yes.
No podcast baking for me tonight, but roasting marshmallows over a campfire. First family camping trip of the season. Hashtag podcast camping.
Ooh.
Awesome. Hey, how is that not baking? You're taking the marshmallows,
Right?
you're applying heat,
There's
Right,
heat
you are
and food.
chemically changing them. That's baking.
Right.
Yeah.
I would say that's podcast baking. And also, how awesome are you, Carlo, not only for becoming a patron, thank you, but for watching the podcast live while you're camping. That's so cool.
So very cool. Thank you. Let's see. Now, Wino Seattle has a behind the scenes question, which if he had come to the 500th event, all of this would have been answered. Okay. So he wants to know, is it the monkey that monitors the peanut gallery comments? And by the way, we don't call them the peanut gallery. Just want to let you know. Because he suddenly looks at another screen with a slight smirk when the fun stuff is typed.
Well, so I have a 2-monitor setup, and the
We
monitor, all three of us do, yeah. The monitor with actually the live video feed and a delay of the comments is the one that I'm also facing, that also has the camera right there. And my key light. So this is kind of like where I look most of the time, and I try and make sure I can see, when Emily's looking bored or or looking like, oh my gosh, how do I get out of here?
Checking the time box.
right, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I talked to Jessie, and she said I only had to be here. Yeah.
Just don't trust Rock Chalk.
Yeah. For anything, but yeah,
that's right.
But to answer the other question, on my second monitor, I have 2 things up. One is the show notes, because I am infamous for losing my place during the podcast.
Because Landon, you would like to say right now,
right? If you ever hear that, that's because I'm off in La La Land. Usually, when I'm doing that, I'm actually thinking about a question that didn't get into the show notes, and I'm like, how would I ask this? How could I segue into this thing I want to ask? And then Chris is like, hey, monkey, says you're supposed to talk now. So yeah. But then further over, I do have a live feed of the chat, and I will occasionally glance at that, and some things I do find amusing, and they'll catch my attention because I have a very short attention span, and shiny things attract my eyes.
Squirrel.
But yeah, right. But as stated in the chat, Brian Lang is our chat lackey. Oops, I wasn't supposed to reveal that information. Our chat lackey, who will remain unnamed, he actually monitors the chat live, and he will grab things and put little stars beside them. And he's got there's a special folder in our main view here where those come up. But sometimes it's fun just to watch what you guys are doing. And so every once in a while, I look over there and just see, what are you guys doing?
Is he the one giving us that cut signal right now? The hope?
That one. Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Oh, that was a really long answer. What else have we got?
just Carlos using all his data tonight. Don't tell him.
Well, how else? What better way to use data than Thursday night at 9 on cachingandw.com.
Helping us take down the internet.
That's right.
Winos is doing his hashtag podcast baking of chocolate croissants.
I won't believe that until you send me a sample to prove it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Just saying.
And then we'll have to take that, freeze it, thaw it out, try it again the next
Well,
day.
absolutely.
Quality
Yeah, send
control.
us a couple of samples so we can test it over a couple of days.
family, so you better send a dozen just to make sure.
Yes, absolutely.
I want to make sure before we wrap up that Emily gets a chance to answer Start Casher's question here because I like this question.
Okay.
Can you grab that? Yeah.
Oh,
So
But
Emily,
Landmonkey would like to ask you something, Emily.
yeah, Emily, I'll be the bad cop. Is Tracker the Signal's pet dog?
his friend.
Sorry,
His friend.
Yeah.
his friend.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry, not his pet.
Which end has on screen right
Yeah, I Tracker and I are
Tracker.
friends. Look at him
Is
right
he ever
there.
going to get to show up at a Mega or a Giga?
Tracker is currently not going to be attending any megas or gigas this year, unfortunately.
He's still a puppy, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Is he
but
still
yes.
lost in the caves?
Oh my
Did he get out?
Did he get eaten by the dragon?
Ooh, no, let's hope not.
No.
Yeah,
No.
Signal's going to be a solo act this year.
Okay.
But he has a very full schedule. But yeah, Tracker, good friend.
I've seen
Crunchy
Tracker
frog.
show up on banners sometimes. So
Yes.
There is that.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
true. Yes, the most recent, the 20th anniversary celebration banner was Tracker and Signal.
Nice.
So we might incorporate Tracker again in the future. I think it really brings the whole like community thing together, you know.
yeah, very cool.
Yeah, he's a
Okay,
loyal
so-
pup.
He is, isn't he? He finds the cash apparently, or he takes a replacement with him. I don't know if he ever
Oh.
talks.
It's hard to say,
Cash
yeah.
maintenance.
I only
Cash
see him with the
maintenance.
cash in his mouth. So
Cash maintenance mascot. I love it.
Lost Ken says Little Fox 1968 and I are having an event in Irving, Texas. Too late to get mega or get a Giga status. Only 2 attendees. So if you show up on March 30th, it would be awesome. That's GC Alpha 5. Suddenly I
Golf.
forgot.
Was
Golf.
it Golf Bravo Papa?
There you go.
Yeah,
Alpha 5 Golf Bravo
Yeah.
Papa.
2 weeks to post a will attend. Just saying.
There you go.
Folks,
Hey,
thanks.
Oh, sorry. I know you
No,
want
go ahead.
to. I want to catch maybe some new listeners that aren't familiar with all of the history, and maybe Emily isn't also either. Land Monkey, could you address Rule 15 that I touched on earlier, according referencing riding lawnmowers?
I think it's Rule 14.
14. Okay, sorry for my error in that.
That's all right. So Rule 14, there is a set of mostly unwritten rules, but enough so that we know that Rule 14 is to never take directions from someone on a ride-on lawnmower.
Yeah.
And you might think, well, that seems sort of arbitrary, but it is not.
It's happened.
We have quantifiable and qualifiable experience to absolutely certainly defend Rule 14. While at the Mount Vernon GeoCoin Challenge, we encountered a family that we effectively rescued from the top of a mountain
Yes.
because they were at the base of the mountain and asked a resident who happened to be on a ride-on lawnmower, we're trying to get to the top of this mountain. What's the best way up there? And they said, oh, well, just park your car over here, and there's a trail that goes up. And so they did so and hiked to the top of the mountain.
A long
And we
hike.
met them as we drove up beside the geocache.
They're like, how did you get here?
Offered them a
We
ride
just drove
back
up the
down.
road.
They came up the backside of the mountain, and we came up to a
Yeah.
parking lot and we were right next to them. And let's take you down to your car, shall we?
Yeah. My favorite part of that was this was a family, small kids and all, and we're riding back down in Land Monkey's Geomobile, and the mom's like, we tell our kids never to take rides from strangers, and here we are. We've never met them before. But so, yeah, it was a fun story, fun experience.
There you go.
There you go. So
So Emily,
it's-
as you go out and experience the megas and travel the world, never take directions from someone on a ride on lawnmower.
There you go.
Noted.
it's happened a couple of times.
Couple
So
of times, yeah.
it's proven. We'll just, yeah.
I think our log got upvoted there.
Hashtag great story. Hashtag helpful.
Yeah. I was going to say, Dora Moore said, geocachers are not strangers. They're just strange.
Strange.
So,
Thank you so much, Emily, for joining us. And folks, thank you for taking the time to tune in to this episode. Until next week, get out and get caching in the Northwest.